We begin with some late-breaking news as we come on air. A man is dead following a shooting on the southeast side. San Antonio police say the suspect identified himself in the shooting and claims it was self-defense. This happening just before 9 tonight at an apartment complex on East South Cross, not far from Pecan Valley Drive. Police say a 34-year-old man and the suspect had ongoing issues. An altercation broke out, and according to the suspect, he shot the man after believing he was trying to pull out a weapon on him first. 34-year-old was taken to BAMC, where he later died from his injuries. Police are still determining whether the shooter will face any charges.
I just can't believe it's already been 20 years. It's crazy to me that it's been so long, but it feels so fresh in a lot of people's minds.
That is just one of the many local reactions we have tonight as we remember the 9/11 attacks. From a life of deployment to being thousands of miles away from the attack and to watching it all unfold right on your TV while sitting on the couch. We reflect back on all of that on this historic day. But first,
manslaughter on the Riverwalk. An argument between two ended in one man drowning and another behind bars.
Yeah, and tonight we have that suspect's identity. The night team's John Paul Barajas spoke with off-duty, out-of-town first responders who tried to save that victim.
From a tourist attraction and family fun to a crime scene. Around 10 p.m. Friday, parts of the Riverwalk were shut down and swarmed by officers looking for a suspect who they say pushed a man into the river because of an argument. That victim couldn't swim and drowned.
He had immediate bystander CPR, and that is the decision maker in a lot of cases of cardiac arrest. And he was given the biggest fighting chance that he possibly could have.
We caught up with the people trying to save the victim's life, but they wish to remain anonymous. The people we spoke with are first responders from Houston who were enjoying their night on their balcony when they say they heard the splash. They didn't think anything of it until they saw other people getting in the water to help. That's when they came down and started performing CPR on the victim until San Antonio paramedics could arrive. And these right here are leftover EpiCap pins from last night's scene. The out-of-town paramedics believe the victim might have been underwater for 5 to 6 minutes before they started their cycles of CPR. Then working crews tried for 20 to 30 minutes, eventually pronouncing him dead on scene.
I think it was different because it was the first significant off-duty call we've had, both being paramedics outside Houston. It's very traditional to do that thing on duty, so we didn't think twice about it. But feeling like our hands were tied off-duty with no equipment, it was definitely a very different kind of role to be in.
Police did find their suspect, Pedro Medina, and he's now facing manslaughter charges. And although the individuals we spoke to said they wish they could have saved the victim's life, they add it was great to see so many willing to help. Along with Medina, there's another suspect that was taken in for questioning, and he's not been charged with anything yet because this case is still ongoing. On the Riverwalk, John Paul Barajas, KSAT 12 News.
As we reflect today back on 9/11 and how our nation was changed by those terrorist attacks 20 years ago, we talked to a retired U.S. Army Special Forces veteran who was among the first on the ground during the invasion of Afghanistan.
He was also one of the last Americans to leave Bagram Air Base as the last of the U.S. forces left the country. He spent most of his adult life fighting between Iraq and Afghanistan.
Tonight, he tells the night team's Patty Santos about his remarkable experience seeing history unfold firsthand.
This is the entire GWAT deployment, all of 20 years of combat written down.
These 5 notebooks detail a piece of history in the global war on terrorism as experienced by retired Special Forces Sergeant Major E9 John Presley.
We did 18, 19 deployments with all the times. It was constant rotations. It never ended.
When adding up all the days, Presley thinks he spent roughly 7 years fighting between Iraq and Afghanistan, which started shortly after 9/11, 2001. The 20-year-old Army Ranger was training in Germany when he got the news about the World Trade Center attack.
A passenger flight ran into the north side of the World Trade Center.
He realized he was headed to war.
Being Rangers, you know you're going to be one of the first guys to go. And I remember one of the young guys coming over and saying, man, I wouldn't want to be you guys.
In early 2002, he was landing in Afghanistan for his first deployment as part of Operation Anaconda.
We did, hunt for bin Laden right up the, Dehrawi Valley and Tora Bora as he made his way into Pakistan, and I was part of that original crew.
He experienced short, high, intense deployments and adding up to 18 months in some cases, living with a population away from the safety of a base.
But months without a shower, without normal food. You know, I learned Zima Pashto Dare Die. You know, I speak almost fluent Pashto, and from living with the population.
Being at war meant seeing death and injuries, even some of his own. And while his deployments were rough, he felt compelled to stay in service to protect younger soldiers.
If you leave, you take all your experience with you, and it's your job to keep those guys alive, pass on what you know.
But he realizes it came at a price.
People ask me what's the hardest thing I've ever done. I think it was watching my daughter grow up through the screen of an iPhone.
He hopes his diaries will help her understand.
When my daughter asks, you know, Daddy, why weren't you there when I was a kid? I can take these and hand them to her and say, baby, read this. This is where I was at. This is what I had to do.
Presley says his 22 years of service helped him make lasting friendships. He met his wife and walked next to heroes.
I don't take anything for granted anymore. You know, every day is great. We can go up and down the streets freely. You know, we can say what we want. I just don't take any of that for granted after seeing what true hardship looks like.
Presley says one of the things he feels lucky enough to remember about the aftermath of 9/11 is that the nation was united. Everyone was proud to be an American and flags were flying everywhere. And he says it is unfortunate that it took a tragedy for that to happen. Patty Santos, KSAT 12 News.
Patty, thank you. And today we were out and about speaking directly with the community to get their recollection of that historic day. Some were adults and, like myself, some were young children trying to process what it was we were seeing on the television screen.
Getting to see it on TV, the building falling and people screaming, and you know, you just want to help and you can't help.
20 years later, the tragic events of 9/11 still impact many both across the nation and here locally.
Our freedom was being trampled on.
Unlike Barbara Peterson here, Sarah Taylor was only a toddler when the planes hit the Twin Towers.
I was watching SpongeBob at the time, and my mom was like going crazy in the kitchen. I was just like, what's going on? I guess she was like overhearing the radio.
For Isaiah Cozy,
I was 6 years old.
Both were watching the same tragedy unfold in two different parts of the country. And despite where they were located, chaos ensued.
And the phone was like ringing and nonstop, and the neighbors were knocking on the door, like wondering what was going on.
For all intents and purposes, the entire island just kind of shut down.
Cozy was living on a military base in Hawaii with his father, who was a veteran.
To me, it wasn't war. Like no one was fighting each other, but violence was still occurring. So I was just really sad and confused at why people would want to hurt each other.
A feeling of many emotions shared among thousands to this day.
Watching the documentaries and everything and just hearing stories from what they've gone through at the World Trade Center, I just can't believe it's been 20 years. I feel like it's still pretty fresh in a lot of people's minds and the trauma that they must have gone through.
It really sticks with me, and it changes how I look at things, because I know that things are complicated, and I think I just try to remember to hold people close.
Now, we've been sharing the stories and experiences of those affected by 9/11 all week, and you can watch them all right now, including KSAT's coverage on that day. Just head to ksat.com.
We'll have more coverage on the 9/11 anniversary a little bit later in this show. Meanwhile, let's take a look at other stories we've been following today. NEISD is mourning the loss of a high school coach who recently died after testing positive for COVID. NEISD officials identified him today as 29-year-old Kevin Hernandez. He was the assistant football coach at Ronald Reagan High School. Officials say he got sick first over the summer and had not been back to work since the beginning of the new school year. This would have been his fourth year with the school. New Braunfels police are looking for a suspect in connection with a fatal hit and run where one person died. That crash happened this morning around 8:30 where I-35 North and Highway 46 intersect. Police say an 18-wheeler driver was pulled over onto the shoulder of the highway, standing near the back of the trailer. That's when he was hit by a passing vehicle. The suspect did not stop to render aid. The man was pronounced dead at the scene. New Braunfels police tonight say the victim is a 54-year-old male from Dale, Texas.
A driver is facing a DWI charge today in connection with the crash involving a police vehicle on the northwest side. The incident happened just before 5 a.m. at the intersection of West Hildebrand and Avenue and West Avenue. San Antonio police say an SAISD police officer was crossing the intersection when the suspect allegedly ran a red light and hit the officer's vehicle. Police believe the driver was drunk and arrested him on that scene. As for the police officer, he was treated at the scene for minor injuries.
A murder is under investigation tonight after San Antonio police arrived at a home where a woman was found dead in the front yard there. This all happened around 5:30 this morning on the southeast side at a home off Caton Avenue, not far from Rigsby Avenue and South Geaver Street. Police were responding to a shooting call when they found that woman shot to death. A person was detained by police at the scene, but what led up to that shooting right now is unknown. We do know there were no other injuries reported.
A man is in serious condition after a two-vehicle collision just north of downtown. The crash happened around noon today at the intersection of Elmira Street and North Main Avenue. Police say a car ran a red light, hitting a vintage truck. As a result, that truck ended up on the curb. The driver was thrown about 30 feet from the truck onto Main Street. The truck driver was taken to BAMC.
Outside with live cam tonight. Hope you had a great start to your weekend. It got hot again this afternoon, but it was a really pleasant day, mainly because humidity was on the lower side. Beautiful blue skies, really a good day to be outside. We're in the mid to upper 70s now. This afternoon, we did make it up to 93 at the airport. That's a couple degrees above normal for this time of year. But our morning lows, those have been the really great numbers the past few days. Even this morning, our low was below average, 67 at the airport. Now, it's not going to be quite that cool tomorrow morning. We will see some subtle changes to our weather pattern kick in tomorrow. You'll notice more clouds and humidity. We do have tropical development possible in the Gulf even as soon as tomorrow. We'll talk about that and what that could mean for our rain chances heading into the first half of next week coming up in the full forecast. That'll be along in just a bit.
We speak with a local resident who saw the impacts of 9/11 nearly 5,000 miles away in London. What he remembers from this historical day. Plus, the CDC is reporting 90% of the hospitalized patients are unvaccinated. We'll break down President Biden's latest COVID plan to bring both hospitalizations and deaths down across the country.
And the South Texas Blood and Tissue Center is stepping up their blood reserves. We'll explain their new program that they joined that is the first in the nation. That's when the Night Beat continues right after this.
Monday on GMSA, meet a Tejana activist who fought to preserve the Alamo.
It was important to her to preserve it for generations to come.
Discover how a teacher's mission saved San Antonio's history. Monday on GMSA.
You just want to meet your new niece.
Here she is.
But if slow upload speeds were to freeze your face and you accidentally snub a newborn,
nothing is ever good enough for you.
just remember, you're not a bad sister.
This is going to be a problem.
You just need better internet.
AT&T Fiber delivers a faster internet experience with 25 times faster upload speeds than cable. Get AT&T Fiber. Plan starting at $35 a month for a year. Limited availability in select areas. Call 1-877-ONLY-ATT.
The Texas Logans are always ready to fight and ready to win. So it's no surprise that they have been voted best injury lawyers in San Antonio.
I'm Javier Villarreal. And I'm Alex Begum. We are the Texas Law Guns.
Call 210-8-million.
Get the rest you need at the prices you want during the Labor Day event at the Revive Sleep Center inside Living Spaces. Shop the latest in Tempur-Pedic sleep technology and save up to $500 on select sleep systems. Or save $600 on the luxurious handcrafted Stearns & Foster Reserve Collection. Plus, enjoy special financing for 60 months on select purchases with your good credit. Don't miss all the spectacular deals during the Labor Day event at the Revive Sleep Center inside Living Spaces.
Living Spaces.
Corolla's just $18,998 or Camry's just $19,998. Big September sale down is on at Vic Vaughn Toyota Bernie. Drastic markdowns, record low prices. It's a total inventory elimination event. With Corolla's only $18,998 or Camry's just $19,998. Online at VicVaughnToyotaBernie.com. Time's running out and the best deals go first. Vic Vaughn Toyota Bernie, I-10 West, just 12 minutes from 1604.
The mission, going back to school. The enemy, peanut allergy. But now,
I'm prepared to take it on in the classroom, hanging with my friends, and riding on the school bus. Wherever peanut allergy may lurk, I'm ready because I powered up with Palforzia.
Palforzia is the only FDA-approved treatment for peanut allergy in children 4 through 17. Taken daily, it can help reduce severity of allergic reactions. Palforzia can cause severe allergic reactions called anaphylaxis that might be life-threatening. Stop taking Palforzia and get emergency treatment right away if you have any symptoms of anaphylaxis. Always have injectable epinephrine available to use immediately if you begin to experience any severe allergic reactions. Do not take Palforzia if you have uncontrolled asthma or have ever had eosinophilic esophagitis or other eosinophilic gastrointestinal disease. Some of the most common side effects include stomach pain, vomiting, and throat irritation. Talk to your allergist to learn more about Palforzia and take the power back from peanuts.
New tonight, the South Texas Blood and Tissue Center is joining the nation's first emergency blood reserve program.
Yeah, the announcement comes as blood centers nationwide have been facing shortages since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. The center has committed to collecting extra blood units if any of the other locations that are part of that program begin to run low. In addition to the program, the center also created the first helipad at the blood center as a way to quickly resupply blood. Organizers say the goal is to be able to get blood to any of the partnering locations if there is ever a major disaster.
With the blood supply being as difficult as it has been to maintain over the last 18 months, we are really worried that we wouldn't be ready for any kind of disaster should it happen. So in order to not only be ready for our community, but also have other communities around the country able to step up and support San Antonio and likewise.
San Antonio is one of 7 other community blood centers joining the program. Those other locations include Austin, Dallas, Southern California, Oklahoma, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania.
After 3 days, United Way has successfully created 1,200 family emergency preparedness kits. We first told you about this story yesterday. Today, completing that 3-day event, it took 300 volunteers to get that job done. Organizers say this was how the United Way wanted to commemorate the 9/11 attacks. They hope with these kits, families will have all they need if a crisis ever hits.
It's hard to believe it's happened, and it's been 20 years since, and it's just a privilege to be together, to see so many people come together and do good in our community to honor those, especially for the families that were impacted by this. They are the reason why we're doing this, because they were the ones that fought to make sure that we turned tragedy into good.
Each of those kits included things like first aid supplies, hand sanitizer, blankets, flashlights, and much more.
A San Antonio group is honoring the first responders who lost their lives during the terrorist attack with a memorial climb. This morning, San Antonio 110 held a 9/11 memorial climb at Hero Stadium. The purpose of the climb was to reach the 110 floors firefighters inside the World Trade Center did not get on that fateful day.
A lot of these people that I know, on that day, went into those buildings knowing they weren't coming down, and yet they still went. They ever more attribute that, no greater love than one who gives down his life for a friend. And they gave down lives for people they didn't even know.
Participants carried 343 service tags to honor each firefighter who died on September 11th.
Considering the heat and humidity we normally have this time of year, really great weather today for that kind of event. All the other memorials for 9/11. Really our first taste of fall, even though it was only in the mornings and evening hours. Though.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
You had to get up early or stay up late to enjoy the cool weather.
Yes, even this evening wasn't too bad out there, but the mornings have been the sweet spot for the past couple of days. So if you were out early this morning for a walk or a jog, you really got to savor that. Nice clear skies. A little crisp as well with lower humidity for the past couple of days. So that drier air does help our temperatures drop down a bit more overnight, rise a little bit more in the afternoon. So low temperatures today, upper 50s in the hill country. How about that? 65 the low in Pleasanton. And this afternoon it was hot, but no triple digits on the board. We'll take that. Upper 80s in the hill country, a high of 97 in Del Rio. So overall, a really nice day. Tomorrow, though, there will be some changes in place. Temperature-wise, a lot of us will be back in the low 90s, but we're going to have more clouds around tomorrow from start to finish, and just a few clouds would be a big change from today since it was just bright blue, clear sky. So more clouds tomorrow. Also slightly higher humidity. It's not going to be oppressively humid tomorrow, but the air is just not going to be quite as dry as it was today. So today in the afternoon, our dew points were down near 50 degrees. Tomorrow, they'll be upper 50s, but a little bit closer to 60, so back up closer to that muggy mark. And then early middle part of next week, it'll start to feel a lot more like late summer again with higher humidity in place. We do have just a few clouds that have filtered in late this evening. Skies are mostly clear, no rain out there, a few showers down closer to the coast. But there's a lot more cloud cover and some additional rain as you work into the far southern Gulf of Mexico, down closer to the Bay of Campeche here, just off to the west of the Yucatan Peninsula. If you've been keeping up with the forecast for the past couple of days, you know that there's an area of disturbed weather down there in the Bay of Campeche. This is called a tropical wave, a tropical disturbance. Basically, it's just an area of rain that hasn't organized into a formal tropical system just yet. But the Hurricane Center does give it a 90% chance of becoming, at the very least, the next tropical depression for this season in the next 2 to 5 days. And I do expect that we could have the system organized into a tropical depression as early as Sunday, but potentially as late as Monday. So until we get that tropical depression to form a defined center of low pressure, center of circulation, that creates just a degree of uncertainty with our forecast models, particularly when it comes to how organized that system could be. And that's important because that's going to play a big role in coverage of rain and also eventual rainfall totals. Now, the latest spaghetti plots tonight are helping us out a bit with positioning here. A good group of them do bring that system by Monday up around Corpus Christi area, so middle lower Texas coast, and then inland Tuesday into Wednesday, generally between San Antonio and Houston. This type of track here with the system, regardless of how much it organizes, would put most of the rain well east of the I-35 corridor, and that is lining up with the latest rainfall forecast models. So along the Texas coast, anywhere from Corpus all the way up to Galveston, south of Houston, that's where it looks like the highest rainfall totals will be over the next 5 days. Notice as you work west, those rainfall totals really fall off on the drier side of the tropical system. So we'll keep a very close eye on that here over the next couple of days. But just know we may be tweaking our forecast a little bit as we head into early next week. But for now, it looks like most of the rain will be off to the east of 35 and San Antonio. A quick look at your futurecast heading into tomorrow morning. Partly to mostly cloudy skies to start the day tomorrow. That'll be a change from the past couple of days. Not quite as cool, but not terribly uncomfortable. As we get into tomorrow afternoon, partly cloudy skies, 20% chance of a coastal shower. Most of us, though, will be rain-free on Sunday with high temperatures in the low to mid-90s. Looks like our best chance of rain out of that potential tropical system will be on Monday. More on that next half hour, guys.
Thank you, Katie.
No sweater weather ahead. All right, Larry, UTSA Roadrunners had their home opener today. They ran all over Lamar in the Dome.
It wasn't even close, and I'll tell you what, UTSA did not suffer any type of letdown after winning.